The most powerful things to massively accelerate your recovery rates: lifting heavy, sleeping, and eating right. That's literally it. However, these are the most commonly overlooked. So what I'm going to do with this video is give you some actionable steps on each of those points to make sure that you don't get distracted from the basics. Because it's very easy to get sucked into this industry here. Hundreds of billions per year spent on recovery methods, pain reduction, inflammation reduction, medication. That's not even included surgery, right? All of these things. Billions every year. Billions based off you choosing comfort, safety. Billions made off your, basically it's a part of our brain, right? And it's a part of our brain that literally assesses risk. And all of this stuff is profiting off your survival part of your brain. It's profiting off you choosing to listen to that survival part of your brain and choose safety, comfort, rather than increasing your capacity, increasing your physical capabilities. And the older you get, the easier it is to do all this stuff, right? All of these things are shiny, they're sexy. Everybody talks about how they improve how they feel. And yeah, they cost a lot of money. But the real problem with all of these things are they're reactive at their core. None of them actually build your physical capabilities. None of them actually increase your capacity to do more with less of the adverse effects. They are reactive in their way of trying to improve how you feel after the adverse effects already happened. They do nothing whatsoever at building. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the lifting, I'm going to talk about sleeping, I'm going to talk about nutrition. I'm not just going to talk about them things and say why they're beneficial. I'm going to try and give you the best possible information in the shortest possible time frame so that you can actually do these better with more confidence, more frequently. Because you get these right, your recovery completely transforms. You can do more crazy stuff every week with less of the adverse effect. That's every man's dream. So, the big three. For those that are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Paul Green. I'm a former British paratrooper, Special Forces Support Group operator. I've trained elite soldiers for the past 10 years. I've built the longevity program, which I work with men from different sporting backgrounds. I'm a purple belt myself, and I have 7 years of grappling experience. Got my fair share of experience on all of these matters, so listen to what I say. I do know what I'm talking about. Lifting. The principle, the underlying principle in why lifting is number one. And when I say lifting, I don't mean doing a bodyweight workout or doing yoga. I mean this: pushing your current maximum capability. In order for you to develop your capabilities, you need to push your capabilities to their maximum. You don't push your capabilities and your strength of your legs by lifting a 16 kilogram kettlebell above your head while twisting. Do you know what I mean? It's simple. It needs to be simple for it to be measurable. So, for some people, bodyweight is a start point, right? However, a few weeks down the line, bodyweight might progress to kettlebells. But kettlebells cost too much to scale, improve the weight, improve the amount of stress in which you're placing on your body to continue gaining capacity, gaining strength. So rather than waste your money on some kettlebells, you could literally buy a gym membership for the same price you spend on a couple of kettlebells for a year and get 10 times the more benefits. I'm not hating on kettlebells. Actually, I am hating on kettlebells. They're absolutely terrible for gaining strength, right? They're more closer to cardio. And this is not a cardio video. This is lifting video. Heavy weights, pushing your current max. More strength equals more capacity. Think about this. If you have a greater level of strength the demands in which you are placing your body under appear less. So then it becomes less about reacting to the adverse effects, because the adverse effects become less apparent and less noticeable. Hopefully that makes sense. The protocol with regards to lifting, right? And this is going to blow your mind, because most people avoid their weakest areas. If they've got sore knees, they're not going to train their legs. However, I want you to train your legs 2 to 3 times per week. And one on that, I will say, always err on the side of being conservative. If you think, okay, I'm going to listen to this guy in the video, I'm going to just do 2. Always err on the side of being conservative. Instead, if you can do 3, just do 2, because you can always add the session in later on down the line when you know for a fact that you can recover from this volume, right? Keep it really simple. 4 exercises per session. Start on 2 solid working sets per exercise. Keep your rep ranges in between 6 to 10 and add 10% weight when you get to 10. Right. It's going to take a little bit of trial and error for you to find out the heaviest weight in which you can lift on certain exercises, right? Because I want these 6 to 10 reps to be from heavy weight lifted, not from moving weight fast and getting fatigued. So making sure that this is a 6 to 10 rep maximum. Because if it's maximum, your body then goes, holy shit, I need to get ready for another bout of that load again in a few days. I need to get stronger. I need to match that level of intensity with capability. So the next thing, which is crucial, and this requires you to just have a little bit of humility, right? Because this is going to be gold dust for you. 80% of your movements in the gym need to be full range of motion movements. And I know you're probably thinking, there is absolutely no chance of me being able to squat all the way down. I can't do a full range of motion squat. It hurts my knees. Listen, I don't need you to find a full range of motion squat. I need you to find a variation of a squat that allows your knees to go through a full range of motion. You don't have to do what these 18-year-old lads are doing with perfect technique. Find a variation of a squat that you can do all the way down to develop the strength of your knees fully. This is me just using lower body as an example, by the way. How you do that very simply is elevate the heels. Elevate the heels, do a goblet squat with a kettlebell, a heavy kettlebell, a heavy dumbbell. Build up some confidence in the squat pattern. Build up some confidence, a full range of motion knee bend, because a lot of these so-called experts will say to you, don't go all the way down. If you don't go all the way down, how can you expect to build capacity in your knees if you're missing out half of the rep? Do you know what I mean? It's bonkers. Listen, this channel, you will get the God's honest truth, literally raw, straight at you. Just do what I say, it'll change your life. Right? By listening to this volume, 8 sets total. Rest periods. Doesn't really matter how long you rest. Don't worry about it. Just let your heart rate calm down and then attack your next set. What I mean by working set is that working set is never a warm-up set. You don't go into the gym and class that as one of your sets when you're warming up. A working set is you literally first rep of that set you're thinking, shit, that's a bit heavy, that's a bit too heavy. And then you are at war with yourself to get 6 repetitions. When you get 6 repetitions, you don't stop. You try your hardest to get 10 repetitions. You write down how many reps on the weight and what exercise you've done. For example, a lower body session, right? You want to start things off. You want to warm up, maybe on the rowing machine for a few minutes. Similar, it's a squat pattern. And then you want to go into prime knee strengthening exercises. So if you can't squat with a full range of motion, most men can't. Rather than you spend 9 to 18 months developing your hip and ankle mobility, just raise your heels. Raise your heels, take hip mobility and ankle mobility completely out of the equation, allow yourself to get full knee bend, And then you get full knee strengthening from these exercises. The knee is the most injured joint in men over 40. So other variations you can do. You can use a Smith machine, which forces you to go perfectly up and perfectly down. You can adjust your foot position to take mobility out of the hips and mobility out of the ankles, allowing again full range of motion at the knee joint. That's exercise number 1. Exercise number 2, you want to do a hinge, which is forward, a deadlift. However, you want to do something that prioritizes the rear of the body, the hamstrings and glutes, right? So it's called a stiff leg deadlift. Basically a micro bend at the knees. You want to go down as far as you can without jeopardizing your neutral spine. Pause at the bottom and then return back to the start position. Again, same fundamentals apply here. Everything I said about intensity, having that, going to war, getting 6 reps, aiming to get 10. When you get 10, increasing the weight. All that stuff remains. And then the next 2 exercises, just do some machines. Leg extensions, leg curls. Job done, in and out the gym. But repeat that. Think about this. If you repeat that session to that standard, no fluff, nothing complex, bread and butter basics 2 to 3 times a week, think about how strong your legs are going to get. Your knees are going to feel unbelievable in a very short space of time. You've got the time. 30 or 40 minutes that session will take. I've talked a little bit about this, right? But what I mean by intent is having the intent to develop your physical capabilities every time you step in the gym, right? Because if you have that intent, you have that intensity, you have that focus, you are going to increase your physical capabilities most sessions. It's not going to happen every session, of course not. Sometimes you're going to maintain, sometimes your reps might drop off a little bit. However, for the most part, you are going to improve your capabilities, you're going to improve your capacity every single week. If you improve your capacity, you reduce the adverse effects in which you are placing on your body, the demands. You reduce the not the demands, you reduce the effects of the demands on your body, right? By having that intent. And I'll tell you this, you can walk in the gym, you train like this, and you look left and right of you, and you can see most people in the gym are going through the motions. People will give you mucky looks for having this level of intensity in your training, this level of high training standards. People will look at you like you're crazy. And you are crazy, right? But they are not moving the needle and they are not getting results. I challenge you to look at everybody in the gym when you see them training and look at how many people are actually training to this required standard. Not many, right? And I can say that from experience. I spent 10 years in the gym going through the motions, and most people do. Get a little bit comfortable, that's the step done. Thinking that's good. It's not good. It starts getting uncomfortable. You need to push more until you can physically do no more reps. Obviously, safety is the most important thing. So choosing exercises in which you can express yourself to that standard. Sleep, pretty straightforward, right? Aiming for 7 to 9 hours per night. And this is where you bank your gains. Repair, regenerate, and grow. The way sleep works is you work in these sleep cycles and your body goes into different stages of sleep, and you repair and grow at a certain stage of sleep. And you just keep repeating this process, right? I'm not going to talk about it. However, I will give you a tangible point to think about to actually improve your sleep quality. Most people, when they finish work, they train on a night and then they get back home and then they have like a period of like 2 to 3 hours by themselves. And then 2 to 3 hours seem to be filled with things that they can do on their own with maximum enjoyment in the priority, in the forefront of their mind. The real challenge is trying to reduce cortisol in these later hours of the night. So after 6 p.m, reducing cortisol, essentially doing boring things before bed. 2 hours before bed, boring things. Because this is the choice you have, right? In the heat of battle, it's 9 p.m. at night. You either choose online games on Netflix and political discussions with your friends, or you choose something boring. Reading a book. Listening to a history documentary. If you choose the boring thing, you get 7 to 9 hours sleep in that night. You wake up the next day feeling unbelievable. You engage in these, you end up staying up till the early hours, 5-6 hours sleep. You wake up tomorrow feeling terrible. Life is 10 times harder when you've had a bad night's sleep. Right? So set a time to go to bed. -2 hours, start filling your evening with boring things. It'll help you drop off to sleep, and this is crucial to not just banking your gains, but making you feel superhuman tomorrow. Very hard thing to do. It's a lot easier to go into an ice bath and convince yourself that you're doing great for recovery and stretching. It's a lot easier. This is hard. I'm not saying this is it's very simple, but this is hard. With the amount of distractions we have at our disposal now as men in 2026. Nutrition. So first and foremost, your calories have to match your output. Not many people are willing to do the numbers, resulting in them not feeling as great as they should, not having as much energy as they should, not having as good of performance as they should. And we're talking about recovery, so not actually recovering from sessions as well as they should, because they just haven't done the numbers, right? On the numbers, once you have done them, 50% of your overall macronutrient split, fats, proteins, carbohydrates, 50% plus should be carbohydrates, because without carbohydrates, you don't have intensity in the gym. If you don't have intensity in the gym, you don't grow and repair from your training sessions and actually improve your physical capabilities. You don't improve your capacity. You know, you've got all these people that do keto diets and stuff like that. They can't produce this week in, week out. So they don't actually improve their capabilities as effectively as someone that is eating this. So, carbohydrates are king. Make sure the most of your carbohydrates are surrounding your training sessions. Because if they're not surrounding your training sessions, you might be wasting carbohydrates early in the day when you could better allocate them later on in the day when you're training. Do you know what I mean? Or vice versa if you're training in the morning. So making sure that most of your carbohydrates surround your training sessions. On that, I would like to say the 80-20 rule again for the nutrition. 80% of your foods are whole foods, so oats, rice, mixed berries, mixed vegetables, mixed salad, beef, chicken, eggs, and then 20% processed is fine. You know, your rice cakes, your jams, honey, whatever, right? Doesn't always have to be perfect. You can have 20% enjoyment. Same in the gym. 80% full range of motion, 20% enjoyment. Eat the foods in which you enjoy as well. Like, that's so important, because if you don't, you won't stay consistent. Remember as well, your family will try and pull you in directions to annoy you, right? I just done a cut for 5 months, and my missus every single day said, "Do you want some of this?" Fuck off. Eat foods you enjoy, right? And if you can align this with family requirements as well, then yeah, you're going to have to get a little bit creative. However, by simply saying yes to every other person, your friends, your family, every single day, you will never move forward in the right direction, will never make progress. So 80-20 rule for food, 80-20 rule for training. So the connection is pretty obvious. Remember what I said earlier on. This stuff is extremely simple. These are the most powerful methods to increasing your capacity. You increase your capacity, you increase the amount of demands you can place on your body every single week with less of the adverse effects, instead of reacting to these adverse effects. You see how you're starting to be proactive in your approach rather than reactive. Reactive is very short term. You're talking the next half an hour. For example, a warm-up before a jiu-jitsu session. That is enough to create some blood flow for 40 minutes. Doesn't actually build capacity, it builds blood flow. Most people in the gym nowadays are just increasing blood flow. They'll leave the gym, they feel like, oh yeah, you know, they go in the sauna, they go in the ice bath, and they're like, yeah, I feel good, oh, I feel nice today, you know, I felt good. Feel good. Look at the numbers. Are you increasing your capacity? Are you improving your capabilities as a man? Right. Carbs fuel the intensity. The intensity builds physical capabilities, builds your capacity. Capacity reduces the adverse effects, which is ultimate recovery, because the demands in which you place on your body appear less on your body because your capabilities fly up here, and then what used to cause dramas no longer causes dramas. They're the underlying principles of what I'm trying to say. However, I will highlight the trap of all of these recovery methods. It is a lot easier to go and get a massage. It's a lot easier to sit in an ice bath. It's a lot easier to buy a sauna than it is to do these three things extremely well. Every rep you add to your performance increases your capacity, which does all of this again. Gentlemen, that is it from me. Stop recovering and start building.